Hi, and thank you for joining me for another video. And friends, this week's Parsha is Parashat Tzav. So far, we've covered the first 6 chapters in Vayikra, chapters that mainly focus on the sacrificial system. And many, because they don't have the patience to try to understand what is being said here, just fly right through it, as do I. But the more, friends, we study it, the more our old preconceived notions begin to fade away. Erroneous notions like that our God cares about blood, and that without blood there is no forgiveness of sins. But rather, we learn that sacrifices did not atone for sins between man and man, but rather for sins between man and God. And within those sins, it was only for sins that were done unintentionally. Not to mention that any sacrifice that would be brought would be worthless if it was not first accompanied by sincere repentance. So the question you're probably asking is, what does this have to do with me? Well, friends, today I'm going to explain how the sacrificial system as a whole was only a tool the Almighty used to train the Israelites in everything ethical. Friends, the Parsha begins by Hashem telling Moshe Rabbeinu to command Aaron and his children. And that's exactly what the name of this Parsha means. Tzav means to command. But what many don't know is that it also means to connect, from the word tzavta, connection. In other words, we know that God doesn't eat or doesn't delight in odor of burnt meat. He doesn't need your sacrifices to satisfy some urge for blood, but rather, all this is only here to try to train us to be accountable for our actions, accountable for what we eat, for what we say, for how we behave with others, which is why a belief system that has someone stripping you away from your opportunity to physically make things right in this world could never have come from Torah. Because why? Because where's the consciousness? Where's the perceptiveness of your actions? Where's your sacrifice? And last week we mentioned how the word sacrifice, korban, comes from the word karuv, which means to get close, teaching us that the only way we get close to anything is through sacrifice. And the only way you connect is through your obligations. And friends, the results of a life lived through this prism of awareness is what ultimately separates us from the animal, to the point that the Parsha goes on to teach us on the holy vestments of the high priest, teaching us that it is important what we wear when we serve God, and how the minimalistic approach to everything, which we see many in our lifetime falling into, is not always the proper response. And we see this, how many feel comfortable showing up at a synagogue in shorts and sandals because God sees you naked, right? Why should it be important? Which is one of the main principles brought down in this week's Parsha, that something is only as important as what you put into it, in how you have sacrificed away in gratitude and thus have secured for yourself and your family an environment where ethics and morality can grow. In tune enough to begin asking the important questions like, how am I living my life, and how does my existence impact others around me? And am I aware of any area that I can give more myself, any area that I could sacrifice into with my resources and possibly make it bloom? The Parsha then goes on to describe the idea of zones of holiness, on how a geographical location may require less or more of you, on how some food you can eat and some food only the priest can eat, on how this can't touch that, and if it does, this is what you do. Are you beginning to catch the drift in what the Torah is trying to do here? It's clearly an exercise to see if you could follow instructions, individual moral training, equipping us for the task of repairing the world. For even Shmuel Hanavi clearly states that to obey is better than to sacrifice, to the point that the failure to obey results in more sacrifices, as it states in the beginning of this week's Haftorah, and how all this is secondary. It states, for when I brought your ancestors out of Egypt and spoke to them, I did not just give them commands about burnt offerings and sacrifices, but I gave them this command: obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Walk in obedience to all that I command you, that it may go well with you. But they did not listen or pay attention. Instead, they followed the stubborn inclinations of their evil hearts. They went backwards instead of forwards. Or how it states in Tehillim, that you do not delight in sacrifice, or I would bring it. That you do not take pleasure in burnt offerings. What you desire is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. So friends, the animals, the blood, the fire is just the means, and the ends is the possible you. And if you're hearing me today and you want to aspire to the best you can become, I want to welcome you to become a Jew yourself, to become a member of Israel, to enter under the wings of the Shekhinah by converting to Judaism. For more information on living a Jewish life, please visit bejewish.org. And for more information on converting to Judaism, please visit torahjudaism.org. Thank you.